It's raining. It's raining here in Brooklyn, but that will not deter me from my task, which is reviewing the Black Ice Audio F11 integrated amplifier. Now, as you can plainly see, it is a tube amplifier with EL84 tubes, push-pull EL84s. They put out 19 watts per channel. Now I'll list all the specifications right now, just so we get that out of the way, because I won't be able to remember all those numbers. But anyway, you can't tell this from the specifications, but these tubes run really hot. Oh yes, they definitely do. And the reason I know how hot they are is not because I touched one and burned myself, but this is not an auto bias design like many tube amplifiers are today. No, this is an amplifier that asks the user to bias the tubes themselves. But don't fret, even for non-techies, which would include me, it's super easy to do thanks to the meter that's built into the top panel there, that you can just look at the meter, and it comes with a little screwdriver, plastic screwdriver, so you won't kill yourself, and just adjust the tubes right there with the meter. Super easy to do. You can adjust all 4 tubes in about a minute. And you don't have to do it very often. You do it when you change tubes or every few months. But it's noteworthy that it's not auto bias. So you can, if you want to goose it up a little bit because you're going to do some serious listening, you can just go in there and tweak each of the 4 tubes individually, by the way, and you feel more involved when you get to do it yourself as opposed to just letting the amplifier do the auto bias thing, which I think is pretty cool, actually, because it's kind of uncommon. So what else we got? Well, while we're looking at the front panel, the knob, which is an aluminum knob, a solid, chunky aluminum knob. Knob feel is first rate, really, really nice. But it doesn't have an input selector knob. It has touch-sensitive controls for the 4 inputs and also to select the headphone output jack that's right there on the front panel. Round back, there are 4 inputs, 4 pairs of RCA inputs, plus a record output, plus a subwoofer output for you people that are into subwoofers. Super easy, hook up a subwoofer to a system with the F11. I forgot to mention the price. It's $1,499, comes in silver or black, comes with a 2-year warranty. One spec that jumped out is it's very low negative feedback, just 4.5 dB of negative feedback. Jim Fosgate, a legendary designer, I'm not joking, has been designing, I think designed pretty much the complete current range of Black Ice Audio components, and also designed many of the Jolita components before it was known as Black Ice Audio. But Jim, I interviewed Jim 15 years ago for Home Theater Magazine, and he insisted I go out to his house because he had this incredible collection of vintage gear that he restored each and every piece there. Really cool stuff. Car radios from the 1930s, just wow. And a super interesting guy, and he designed one of the best state-of-the-art quadraphonic decoders in the 70s, even as quadraphonic looked like it was going to fail as a format. He just went in there and just built and designed the best one ever. And it is still considered the best one ever. And he also designed Dolby Pro Logic 2, the Dolby Pro Logic 2 circuit. He's done a lot. He holds 19 US patents for audio-related designs. Serious guy. And I spoke to him the other day about the F11, and he was just brimming with energy. He's not a young guy, but he's just firing on all cylinders. Black Ice Audio wanted me to take special note of the packaging of the amplifier. From the outside, it looks like a standard cardboard box. But the internal foam packaging and how it supports the amplifier and the 8 tubes, it's really very, very nicely done. They want to make sure the amplifier arrives at its destination in a tip-top condition. The first speakers, I used a few speakers over the course of this review, but I started with, obviously, the Klipsch Cornwall 4s, because it seems like a natural, right? It's high sensitivity speaker, it's a horn speaker, big 15-inch woofer. How would this 19-watt amplifier fare pushing around that big speaker? And the answer is very, very well. Thank you very much. Bass was very nicely controlled. top end was sweet, mid-range is warm, but it is a high resolving amplifier, definitely. This has been a tube, more tube-centric period of my review life than it usually is. I've reviewed a bunch of tube amplifiers, but the one that's sticking around here right now that it made sense to compare against the F11 is the L-Kit UT8600-R 300B amplifier, which is sold as a kit. I did not assemble the kit, but it's been sort of my go-to reference now for tube electronics. Now, by the way, it is an integrated amp because it has a volume control, but it has only one set of stereo inputs, and it doesn't have remote control. So they're not really comparable devices, and it is a 9 watt per channel amplifier. So anyway, I've been listening a lot to the 8600R, and it's a great amplifier, highly transparent, and in fact, yes, when I did the back and forth between the 8600R and the F11, yeah, the 300B is a more vivid, see-through, transparent sounding amplifier. It had more spring in its step, it's livelier, it's faster sounding. All good things. But returning to the F11, the sound had more weight to it, more solidity. It sounded more powerful. And I don't mean more powerful in the sense that it would play louder. More powerful in the sense it just had more meat on its bones to the sound. And I really, really like that. Both amplifiers were pretty darn dynamic for low-powered amplifiers, but I would give the edge to the F11 as just having a little more push to it, more forceful sound than the 300B amp. For another comparison, I brought out the first Wat F8 solid-state amplifier, which is, I believe, 25 watts a channel, and I teamed that with the past Labs XP30. And yes, that combination, pass, first watt, sounded more powerful, could play louder with ease, and the bass impact was a step up over either tube amplifier. But the thing is, returning to the F11, it feels comfortable. And I don't mean soft or mushy or bloated or anything. No, it's not. But it just has an ease to the presentation that's very, well, comfortable. You just want to keep listening. I'm thinking less like an audiophile and more like a music lover. Just everything sounds really, really nice. So at that point, I pushed aside the corn walls and I put in place the KEF LS50 Meta speaker, small stand-mount speaker. And that combination also was, and that's not a sensitive speaker. I think the sensitivity number is 85 or 86 dB. So it's a low sensitivity speaker, and yet the 19 watts per channel had no problem driving the KEF as loud as I wanted it to go. And that little speaker can put out some low-end muscle, surprisingly so for its size. And the KEF is a much better imaging speaker than the Cornwalls. So the 3D aspects of the image in terms of placement, depth, space, all those parameters that audiophiles love to love, yeah, the F11 was doing a very, very nice job. Very nice. I next played Chrissie Hynde's new record of Bob Dylan covers. And she doesn't do the usual suspects. It's not like Bob Dylan's greatest hits. There's not much of that. But she makes these songs, these Bob Dylan songs, sound like Chrissie Hynde songs. And that is so cool. But it's not a great sounding recording. It's just not. And the question when I played this record was, would this sweet amplifier just make pretty up this not very good sounding recording? It's edgy, it's in your face, it's a little brash sounding. And it didn't. It let those nasties come through. So in other words, the F11, as pretty and sweet as it is not going to hide those kinds of problems. It's not going to nullify the problems. So good. It's a very revealing amplifier, but its general demeanor is relaxing and sweet. So it's not forfeiting detail. It's bringing out the best in the music when it's there to be gotten. Next up, I put aside the kefs and I put in a speaker that I cannot tell you what it is. I will be able to tell you all about it very shortly because I'm going to review it in a week or so. But right now it's under embargo. But it is I will say this, it's another low sensitivity speaker, but a really nice speaker. And I played this recording, this Tony Bennett live at Carnegie Hall in 1962. And I gotta say, wow. It's 1962. It's forever ago, and it sounds so good. Very few contemporary recordings sound as good as this Tony Bennett recording. You really hear the whole, he's got a big band, an orchestra, and string players, and all this stuff going on, and he is right up front, and his voice is so good and so controlled, and his phrasing, everything about it was delicious. It was just a real treat for my ears. And there I am. I'm listening to the F11 thinking, yeah, you know, this is one of those amps that makes me think, for seeing people who aren't, you know, audiophiles who need to push forward and always get the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, this is the kind of amplifier that I can see people living with for long term, who just want to listen to the music without thinking about the next best thing, the next big thing to come down the pike. Now, I rarely mention the headphone sound of most integrated amplifiers I review because it's just there as a feature. It's not there to actually sound particularly good. So it's not really worth talking about. But in this case, the F11's headphone output is very, very decent. And I was playing Beck's Sea Change album. And wow. And I was using my Audeze LCD2 phasers. This thing's got to be a good 10 years old at this point. And I go back to them every now and then and think, yeah, this is where the whole Audeze Odyssey started, right? That they kept pushing it forward, pushing it forward, pushing it forward. But this headphone, which is really close to the beginnings of Audeze, is so darn good. And the layering in that recording, the depth, how each instrument group is mic'd, and the contrast between them and the density of the mix, it just all made sense over the LCD2 with the F11. F11's headphone output is very decent, very decent. So if you play speakers and you're pretty serious about headphones, the F11 will satisfy. The F11 is really good at its job of presenting music. Seemingly without editorial comment, but still, I would say its signature is sweetness, an easy does it sort of personality, which means it's really easy to listen to for long periods of time without like fatigue, like, oh, I've had enough, I gotta stop listening. I never felt that way when I was listening to the F11. And with that, I can now say my name is Steve Guttenberg, and this is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. Just hit that button right down there. When you do, hit the notification bell so you'll know every time there's a new episode. And right now, I'm still shooting for one every other day, 4 times a week. That is the schedule for the time being. But while you're here, I would like you to consider checking out the Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac. There is a link to that in the description of this video. And yes, we have more. We have so much more. Oh, by the way, you can follow me on Instagram and IGTV at steve.Guttenberg. And on IGTV, I post short videos, just random thoughts, things just off the top of my head that don't make it to the videos here. And sometimes there are trailers for the videos that I am posting on YouTube, but I sort of mix it up on the IGTV thing. But you could also follow me on Twitter at AudiophiliacMan. While you're here, chill. Check out more reviews. There's plenty more reviews in the playlist, and there's playlists for speaker reviews and headphone reviews and electronics reviews like this one plus music reviews and dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews. And now I can say my work here really is complete. Thank you again for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.